I want to go back to a Joy Reid clip. I don't have it queued up, and that's fine. But after Donald Trump announced his idea for Gaza, Joy Reid and a lot of people on the left immediately went to ethnic cleansing, and he wanted to purge Gaza. He certainly did say he wanted them to move so it could be rebuilt and they could then come back to brand new, beautiful, the most beautiful buildings. You know how he talks. Al Green, the congressman from Houston, accused him of ethnic cleansing. A lot of people on the left immediately went from he's staging a coup to ethnic cleansing. I oftentimes now hear progressives say that, the Nazis didn't believe they were the bad guys. The Nazis didn't believe they were evil. And what the left means when they say this is that people on the right who either justify Trump, excuse, support, explain, otherwise are not on the left side fighting him all the time, that, they're Nazis. And the Nazis thought they were on the right side of history just like these conservatives do, except I don't know that anyone on the left is capable of exerting a level of self-awareness to look in the mirror, point at themselves, and say, I might be a Nazi. Has it ever occurred to people on the left that they might actually be the bad guy? They like to take the moral high ground, and what they do is in saying you're a Nazi, it means they don't have to debate you, because a Nazi is the embodiment of evil, and you don't have to debate evil. They don't recognize evil per se, but Nazi, they recognize Nazis, not a communist, a Nazi, not a fascist, a Nazi. And if you're a Nazi, you're not to be debated, you're not to be reasoned with. It's just ignore you, move on, or worse, get rid of you in some way. And that's what they try to do to people on the right now. That's what they do to Donald Trump. It's what they do to anyone who is on Donald Trump's side is, well, you're a Nazi, and that means they don't have to debate you. Your argument is immediately invalid because you're a Nazi. You're immediately bad. And what has happened now is that the left and the Democrats are so busy trying to align themselves on being on the right side of history, they're on the wrong side of all the voters. The voters themselves are propping up the Nazi regime, or they were too stupid or racist. I mean, this is where the left is. Donald Trump won the popular vote, so the Americans who voted for Trump are either stupid or racist, or both. My buddy Ryan Anderson worked at the Heritage Foundation. He's now, at the EPPC up there, and a Christian public policy group. He wrote a book, When Harry Became Sally, about transgenderism. It was banned by Amazon. Amazon.com was willing to sell Mein Kampf and Das Kapital, the books by Adolf Hitler and Karl Marx, but they were not willing to sell Ryan Anderson's book. The good libs at Amazon thought that Ryan Anderson's book questioning transgenderism was too evil of a book to sell. The Nazis banned books too. What the left says is that the right's banning books, getting pornography out of elementary schools in Florida and elsewhere. None of these books are banned. They just needed to be moved to the high school library or out of the public education library altogether, but they're not being banned. The left actively tried to block the sale of books at Amazon.com that question transgenderism. On YouTube, you can have your accounts demonetized. You can have your account closed for raising questions about the COVID vaccine, for raising questions about COVID's origins, for raising questions about transgenderism, for raising questions about anything Democrats like. You can be demonetized, you can be censored on YouTube, and the left thinks that's fine, driving you from polite society, the way the Nazis did to the Jews. But they're the good guys, remember? The left's the good guys. In Texas, a doctor in Austin, Texas, despite a state law that prohibited hospitals in Texas that take state money from doing transgender surgeries on minors, a doctor in Texas discovered that one of the hospitals in Texas was still doing the surgeries on minors, knowingly, willfully defying state law. The Biden administration prosecuted the doctor who was the whistleblower. Not only did they do it, the actual lawyer who began the prosecution had been dismissed as a member of the Texas bar. They had to refile the case against him, and they kept it up. It's the Trump administration that came in and threw the case out. That's right. A doctor found out a hospital in Texas was violating state law doing genital mutilations on children, and he got prosecuted for blowing the whistle. In California, an undercover group of pro-life activists found out that Planned Parenthood was actually harvesting babies and selling their body parts. It was one outlet, wasn't the national group, a local abortion clinic, I guess I should say. I think it was Planned Parenthood. Maybe it wasn't, but it was a local abortion clinic, was harvesting the body parts of children who had been aborted and selling them. And an undercover investigation found out. You know what the Democrats did in California? The government did. They prosecuted the pro-life whistleblowers for exposing the abortion activists selling body parts of babies. In multiple places, the Biden administration prosecuted Christians praying at abortion clinics. In some cases, yes, it's true. The anti-abortion pro-life activists were blocking access to the clinic. In other cases, they weren't. They were standing in front of the door, and anyone who wanted to go through, they moved out of the way. But the Biden administration and a progressive judge threw them all in jail. And right now, a lot of progressives are listening to all of this, and they're trying to justify it in their heads, exactly like the Nazis did. The Nazis justified the genocide of Jews. And you're right, the Nazis never looked in the mirror and thought we're the bad guys, but neither do the people on the left. The people on the left are willing to drive individuals out of polite society. They're willing to prosecute whistleblowers because the whistleblowers happen to blow the whistle on things the left likes that are against the law. They're willing to censor books. They're willing to have you demonetized on social media so you can't make money. That they want to stockpile porn in elementary schools and then accuse you of being a book banner when you want to get them out. They think that boys should be allowed in girls' sports, and you're a bigot, a racist, a anti-trans, you name it, if you disagree. They try to promote and elevate an anti-science agenda and demand that we call it science or else. Right now, the left is attacking Elon Musk's group of young adults who are helping him with Doge. About 2,000 years ago, Mount Vesuvius exploded, killing everyone in Pompeii. We have found preserved fragments of scrolls in Pompeii. We couldn't read them. Scientists decided to run a contest and see if anyone could use AI, could build an engine using AI that could read the scrolls. For the first time in 2,000 years, a 19-year-old from the University of Nebraska was able to read scrolls that have not been read in 2,000 years. This 19-year-old wonderkin from the University of Nebraska programmed a computer's AI system to be able to read the scroll, to be able to extract the information and make it legible enough that individuals could see what was written on the scroll. That 19-year-old is one of the kids helping Elon Musk's Doge. The left is trying to out him, to harass him, to make him unemployable elsewhere. They put up his picture. They want people to denounce him. It's very Nazi-like behavior. This 19-year-old has made it possible for people to read ancient texts. No one else has been able to do this. This 19-year-old did. Instead of rewarding him, they're vilifying him because he's auditing the federal government and figuring out where spending's going. The left has been rejected by the voters, and they've decided the voters are bad. The voters are Nazis. The left really, really, really likes to vilify anyone they disagree with as a Nazi, as a racist, as a bigot, as a homophobe, as a misogynist. They never actually want to stand and look in the mirror and say, why does everybody hate us so much? Maybe we're the bad guys. They're absolutely right. They're absolutely right. No Nazi ever stood and looked in the mirror and said, I'm the bad guy here. They all felt justified by what they're doing, just as the left has felt justified getting people's businesses shut down, getting people taken off YouTube, getting people's books banned from Amazon.com, prosecuting whistleblowers, prosecuting prayer warriors, putting porn in schools, engaging in the genital mutilation of kids. Very Nazi-like thing, by the way. And the difference between them and me is that the left will call me a Nazi and say, I now am not allowed to be debated. They'll come after my advertisers. They've come after my advertisers. Progressives have come after my advertisers. Progressives have come after my radio affiliates trying to get me off the radio. I'm still willing to debate them. You see, here's the fundamental difference. Is they call me a Nazi when I actually am as a Christian, and you may not agree with me. You may think I'm a sinner. I am. May not live my faith the way you think I should. Sometimes I don't live it the way I think I should, but I'm a sinner. Sometimes I fall short. But at the same time, I got to love my neighbor. A progressive leftist like a Nazi embraces this pseudo-religion and decides, I don't have to love my neighbor. I can punish my neighbor. I don't have that power. I am bound by a different moral law than they are. And their moral law at the end of the day is just a mob mentality. I will one day be held accountable to God Almighty himself for what I did and didn't do. Thankfully, I've got a mediator in Jesus to keep me from the wrath of God. But they don't. In the meantime, they are their own God. They worship themselves at their own altar. That's why they can't identify themselves as the bad guy or even exercise enough humility to think, maybe I am the bad guy here. When they censor someone, when they get Ryan Anderson's book taken out of Amazon.com, it was for the social good. When they prosecute the whistleblower who exposed the harvesting of body organs, it was for the social good. When they prosecute the whistleblower who blew the whistle on Texas hospitals breaking the law to do genital mutilation surgeries on children, well, it was for the greater good. When they put pornography in elementary schools, it's for the greater good. It's always to them for the greater good. Exactly what Adolf Hitler thought. If you're going to go around and call everybody else a Nazi because you're a progressive and other people disagree with you and so they're Nazis, you should at least exercise some level of honest self-reflection and say, are they or am I the bad guy here? And I do understand that the left will always conclude they're the good guy. But they're also the people who have said we have to protect democracy. And in our democratic system within our republic, which was a public election the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, the people voted for Donald Trump. So why are progressives now calling it a coup and standing in the way? Because it was never about democracy. It was about their power. And that makes them the bad guy. Because it's not about good. It's just about their power.